I'm James Lynch, and this is my stock report for UFC Abu Dhabi, taking a look at the biggest winners and losers from the event. And the thumbnail always gives it away, but I think this one is very obvious here. Umar Nurmagomedov, biggest stock riser on this card, getting a 5-round decision victory over Cory Sandhagen. This was the big win he needed, and he did it over a really good opponent here in Cory Sandhagen. And I don't think there was any questions that he won this fight. There was no controversial decisions or anything weird that happened. This was just a solid performance from Umar Nurmagomedov, taking out a really good fighter in Cory Sandhagen, who I rate very high. Looked great in the matchup, good everywhere, good wrestling, good ground game, good striking, beat Cory in a very well-rounded performance here. He's going to get the next title shot. I'd be pretty surprised. There's another name on here that could make a case for a title shot we'll talk about in a second, but I mean, he's undefeated. He's got the Nurmagomedov last name. The UFC loves going in the Middle East. It seems like a no-brainer that Umar Nurmagomedov is going to get this next title shot for the winner of Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili. So yeah, I mean, easily the biggest stock riser on this card. This was the big breakthrough win here for Umar Nurmagomedov, and he does it on such a big stage in a main event, 5 rounds. Again, getting it done over 5 rounds and doing it in the Middle East doesn't get much bigger than this. So Umar Nurmagomedov, no brainer, gonna be the biggest stock riser on this card. After that, obviously there's a lot of winners. My second big stock riser on this card, and again, let me know in the comments what your top 3 stock risers and top 3 stock droppers are on this card. But my second one is going to be Deiveson Figueiredo. Now look, he was heavily favored going into this fight, much like Umar was, but he put on a pretty dominant performance over Chito Vera, and that's another win for him at bantamweight. Of course, the former flyweight champion. That's 3 straight wins. The Garbrandt win, I don't put too much value into that because we're not really getting the Garbrandt we had a couple years ago. But Rob Font's a solid win, and he dominated that, and he dominated this fight. And look, I know Chito Vera, not really a contender anymore. He got absolutely outclassed by O'Malley, and then a couple fights before that with Cory Sandhagen. But this was just a solid win. Even knocked Chito down in that fight. He just looked great. Again, he definitely made a strong case for a bantamweight title shot. And if there was no Umar Nurmagomedov, I would absolutely say Deiveson Figueiredo has earned his title shot. But he's going to have to wait. He'll have to fight someone else. I really want to see him and Petr Yan fight. That's an opponent that's out there that, is pretty ranked high, or is ranked very high. As I say, pretty ranked high. That's not really a saying. He's sort of the highest one that's ranked there that is coming off a win. I think that's probably the next fight for him, just as he waits to see what happens, because unfortunately he's in this logjam right now, I think, personally, with O'Malley and Merab fighting in September, and then you got Umar waiting in the wings. So Figueiredo, Petr Yan, book it, but great win there for Deiveson Figueiredo. He's definitely my second biggest stock riser on this card. And the last one was a performance on the undercard for me, and that is Azamat Murzakanov. You guys know, if you've watched my show, I've been very high on him. It's not only that he won this fight, it's how he won this fight. He went out there and he knocks out Alonzo Menifield in the second round. Love this win for him. Still undefeated. He's got a couple good wins now on the resume of ranked guys, Jacoby and Menifield being 2 of them. I want to see him tested. This is a guy to keep an eye on. I know he's 35, but keep an eye on him in this weight class, as we're sort of going through this transition of, obviously we got Magomed Ankalaev and Rakic fighting. We got Jan Blachowicz and Jamal Hill on the sidelines. Murzacanov's a guy that I think could sneak in there pretty soon, and I don't know what they're going to end up doing with Jamal Hill or Blachowicz or Carlos Ulberg or Roundtree, but get Murzakanov in against one of these guys, because I think he's ready for it. I mean, he's fit. He's doing quite well against the competition he's fighting, and this win in the Middle East, very, very good for him. So Murzakanov, my third biggest stock riser on this card as well. We always do a couple honorable mentions on the card too. Some of the ones that I wanted to point out as far as honorable mentions include Joel Alvarez. Really good win there over Elves Brenner. I almost finished him in the first round, does it in the third round. I always love watching Alvarez fight. This guy's an absolute killer. Might have put him on the top 3 biggest stock risers, if it wasn't for his call out. Why are you calling out Bobby Green? I don't think he's ranked anymore, and Green just came off a pretty embarrassing loss. I would like to see him fight like a Jalen Turner or Fiziev or someone like that that's ranked and doesn't have an opponent booked. I would have liked that call out a little bit better, but either way, really good win. The odds were pretty close on this one going in. I think they had Alvarez as just a slight favorite. He definitely looked more than that tonight. -155, looking great, getting it done. So Joel Alvarez gets an honorable mention. Got to give an honorable mention to Mackenzie Dern, coming off a couple tough losses, right? Had the losses to Lemos and Andrade. She bounces back against Lupi, who I think is very good, and that was a very good win for her tonight. So McDern getting a little bit of props there. And then we got to give one to Sam Hughes, underdog going into this fight against Dudakova. Sam Hughes was +140, gets a split decision win. She still gets the win coming off a loss coming into this. She's got to get an honorable mention as well, because she defied the odds and got the victory there. There's a lot of good wins though. Again, Dumas, Herbert, Kutaladze was a good win considering had to fight an opponent on short notice. Gaziv, Fernandez looked good. I mean, there's a lot of good performances. Chiesa obviously finishing Ferguson, but we kind of expected him to win. He was like minus 500. And Shara Bullet obviously getting a win as well. But yeah, those are my picks for biggest stock risers. Now let's talk about the biggest stock droppers. And this is where people always argue with me. But again, I want to remind people, if you're watching this video, I don't want to hear you just say this pick sucks or whatever. I would like you to say who your biggest top three are and explain why, and who your bottom three are and explain why. I just want to know that. That's it. You don't need to criticize my picks. It's very easy to do that. My number one is Dudakova. Now, people are going to be like, well, what about Cory Sandhagen? What about this and that? The thing is, Dudakova, to my knowledge, on this card was the only favorite that lost. So by default, she has to be the biggest stock dropper on this card because she was on a win streak coming into this fight. She was expected to win, and she lost. And yes, it was a split decision, but she still lost. She's the only favorite on this card to lose. That's good enough for me for putting her as the biggest stock dropper. The other stock dropper on this card I was going to mention is Marlon Chito Vera. Again, a underdog going into this fight. What were the odds on this? I didn't even check. Okay, so he's plus 115, so not a huge underdog, but still, I think he should have had a better showing than that against Davis and Figueiredo, and he didn't. And Chito Vera is now in this really weird spot. Well, he's basically in the spot now where the UFC is going to use him to build up other fighters, I think. He's now lost 3 of his last 4. The one win over Munoz was close, not exactly a signature performance there. They're basically going to use guys on the on the come up in the rankings to fight him, I think, is my thinking now. But yeah, Chito it hasn't really evolved, right? Like, I think Figueiredo kind of figured everything out about him that Cory Sandhagen showed a couple fights ago, and he was able to go in there and take advantage of that, or Sean O'Malley, doesn't matter. But yeah, Chito Vera is another stock dropper. And then the other one is Alonzo Menafield as well. Because he got finished in this fight, and Menafield at one point had a good win streak going. Remember, everyone was like, man, he's got some good wins, and he got that really good win over Dustin Jacoby. Remember that in December, and you're thinking, okay, this guy's undefeated in his last 5 fights. It's looking good for him. And then Olberg finishes him here, and then he gets finished by Mirzakhanov, and I think he hadn't been finished in like 4 years prior to that, these last 2 fights. So yeah, Menafield stock's definitely down after this. He's 36. The optics aren't looking too good. So Menafield, my third stock dropper. Okay, honorable mentions. Now, some people could argue that this person should be on the top 3 stock droppers. But here's the thing. Cory Sandhagen did lose, but no one, like, if you look at the odds, he wasn't expected to win this fight. Okay? So Sandhagen was what did he end up closing as? He ended up closing as a plus 285. Now, from the standpoint of Sandhagen not being in title contention anymore, yes, he was a very big stock dropper on this card. However, I don't think he fought a terrible fight. I think this fight was close. I think that Sandhagen showed some really good takedown defense. He didn't look super overwhelmed in this fight. I think Umar was just the better fighter and proved that tonight and show a more well-rounded game, and he won the fight. We've seen Sandhagen lose fights before and go back to the drawing board and have great performances, like we saw against Chito Vera, like we saw against Song Yadong. He loses 2 fights. People kept referencing the Aljo fight. Do you think the Sandhagen that fought Aljo would have got submitted by Umar tonight? I think he would have. But you can see that Sandhagen's been leveling up. Not to mention he's 32. It's not the end of the world here. I don't think Sandhagen's stock dropped a ton, in the sense that I still think he beats a lot of fighters in the rankings right now. Like, if you gave him Aldo right now, I know Aldo's booked. You gave him, Kyler Phillips. I know he's booked as well. You give him any of these guys, I think he beats most of the fighters that are currently ranked right now. So I don't think it's a huge deal that he lost. I think it's just, going back to the drawing board, figuring things out. But yeah, I have to put Sandhagen on the stock droppers just because obviously he's not a contender. So that takes him out of the stock drop. The other stock dropper on this card for me is again, these are just honorable mentions, was Lupi Godinez. It's back-to-back losses for her now. She had a very good camp. She showed some good signs in this fight, but ultimately wasn't able to get it done. At least she didn't get finished in this fight, but back-to-back losses. It's back to the drawing board for Lupi. I thought, the change in camps with Alexa Grasso's team a couple fights ago, we saw some progression. I think now she's kind of in that spot where it's like, okay, she's not really a contender, but she can get the wins over fighters that are ranked in her division. And then the last one's got to be Tony Ferguson, although he didn't really have any stock going in. But again, just getting finished in the first round and then also not committing to retirement. I mean, 8 losses in a row. That's not fun to watch by anyone. And I did a reaction video to this already, kind of giving my thoughts on El Kukui. But he's obviously got to get mentioned because he got beat pretty badly tonight. So that's pretty much it. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Again, I'll say it one more time, guys. I don't want to hear you complain about who I picked or not. I want to hear who your top 3 and bottom 3 are, and we can debate that. I'd rather just debate this instead of getting into the whole, I know more than you do or whatever. And again, this is all subjective. It's just, you know, my version and my criteria of what I use for the biggest stock risers and stock droppers. I don't think anyone's going to disagree on Umar, though. I think we're all on the same page there. It's just the other ones, I think that maybe people will have some things to say, but let's have some fun in the comments. Again, I am going to be going away on vacation tomorrow, guys, so I will not be able to get to all the comments in the section here, but I'll do my best. I hope you guys enjoyed the card. Thanks so much for watching. I will have a stock report ready for next Sunday. I should be back in time for my vacation, so hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up. Really helps out the channel a lot, and I'll see you guys next time.